Well, I think that there is a fear of Caucasians of Asians. I think that there has been that fear for years. But I don't think that people should think that Chinese are going to try to come back and claim America because of this, any more than the British or the French will come back and claim America because that they colonized America. I think that it's ridiculous. Maybe you can compare it to this. I just found out this last week that a distant relative of mine is doing a genealogy study, and I found out that I'm related in the 13th century to a king of Scotland.
Wow.
So does that mean that you should bow down to me now? No. You know, what difference does it make now? None. But it is an interesting point. And just, I bring this up to say that history, when we go back and study history, it doesn't change the present other than maybe we won't repeat the same mistakes. But it doesn't mean that now I'm the Queen of Scotland or something, you know. So it doesn't. The Chinese won't come back and claim America. I have no doubt about that.
George Carter, in your book you quoted, had said that the founding of the Smithsonian Institution and Bureau of American Indian Affairs has kind of preempted a denial of overseas contacts and kind of been responsible for setting in concrete this dogma that we came from here only. And basically the essence of it is that other institutions have been part of establishing this dogma, which makes it very hard to receive new knowledge, new discovery, new information. Do you agree?
You know, I did read that Carter said that. I've had a hard time understanding some things. My father had said that he had a history book that showed that Chinese discovered America. I think it was from about 1910, and it was being taught in American schools at that time. And so I went to Dr. Covey, who's been my research mentor, by the way. He has been an invaluable help to me. And I went to Dr. Covey and I said, is this true that it used to be in American textbooks? And he said yes, and he also said the same thing that George Carter said, that it was in American textbooks, that Chinese had an early presence in America, that they had been here at least 1,000 years, and then about that time it was taken out of textbooks. Just recently I found in an antique shop a teacher's guide, and it was dated 1905, and it says the same thing, that that the Native Americans came from Asia, and that was the origin of the Native Americans. But in the same shop, the books dated after that, after about 1910 or 1915, they take that information out.
I wonder how much of our history, across the board, by the way, everywhere, there's been this sensitivity of territory. Because that's really what we're talking about, isn't it? It's territoriality and ownership of land and space and claiming. And I wonder how much of the removal of information like this has happened on a broad level.
That's a good question. I don't know. One thing that has perplexed me is that everybody admits that there were people in the Americas since at least 2000 BC. Everybody admits that. But when we study history, American history, we start with only 500 years ago. So what happened to the rest of that history?
I love that question. I have another question.
Okay.
Okay, so who authorizes what gets into the history books for children? Who determines that?
Okay, now I heard Gavin Menzies say recently it's determined by peer review, that the teachers themselves authorize that. So if they've written a book saying that Columbus discovered America, they don't want somebody else to come up with a book saying Columbus didn't discover America.
We're doing a show on peer review coming up in 2 weeks.
That will be interesting. I would like to listen to that.
Because there's two types of peer review, I've been told. There's one that has to do with books, and there's another one that has to do with articles or publications that are not books. and they have different ramifications and issues, like 2 tiers for peer review. But it's a very important question because accepted history, accepted precedent, our frame of reference for what is and how it came to be is established in our youth and then concretized, right? If we're not curious anymore, and you know how as they age, most people get less curious, and a lot of people maintain their childhood wonder of life, like you and like me. I love to learn. I love to learn. It's a great passion of mine, and I will learn my whole life. But a lot of people need to know and feel a need to have a handle on what is and what isn't and how it came to be, which can obstruct learning.
Right. But, you know, the Internet has been one thing that's been wonderful because even though it's not accepted by some people, you can put information out there and it's available to many people. And I believe that many people are finding out that Chinese were in the Americas before Columbus. And by the way, what they say about the DNA of the Native Americans is that the founding DNA is from Asia. So it's not just a recent infusion, it's something that's been here thousands of years.
Wow. So it kind of points to we have to keep looking. We have to stay open and keep looking. And new information becomes available and new connections and putting the puzzle pieces together. I liked how you described that in your book about putting the puzzle pieces together, and it's like a great exploration. You must have an incredibly exciting life, putting the pieces together, being in the area of discovery, exploring for a living, and then writing about it and sharing about it.
Well, it is interesting. I get new information almost daily, and I communicate with people around the world, but I'm an ordinary person like everybody else. I have to go grocery shopping, and I have to clean my house. So, you know, I'm just like everybody else, but I'm inquisitive, and I have the time right now in my life to study these subjects.
What do your sisters and brothers say about your work, what you've discovered? I mean, all of these maps were sitting under what, your brother's bed after your dad passed away?
Right.
How are they responding to what you've pulled together and pieced together? Are they excited? What's their sentiment about it?
Well, there's 7 of us, and I say sometimes if we got together and voted on what day of the week it was, we would probably each come up with a different answer.
I hear you. I think a lot of us have that in our families.
So there are various reactions, and some have been very supportive, and some have been a little bit dubious. So, but I still love them. They're my brothers and sisters.
Wow. What's next for you, and what is your focus on today?
Well, I'm working on a book about my father. I was actually asked to write this book first, and I said, well, I need to go back and write the book, you know, explain his book first, and then do mine, and then do my father's. I am working on that book. Not today. Actually, today I'm taking care of some correspondence and mailing out some books and other things, but that's my main focus this spring. I'm getting ready for a speech in Malacca, Malaysia. That will be in July. And also I will be speaking at the National Library of China in July.
Wow. Which part of China?
It's in Beijing. That's like their Library of Congress.
Wow.
So I'm very excited about that opportunity, and that will be very interesting. It will be in the MAPS division.
Now, are you speaking all over the world? Are you on call for speaking engagements? Can schools hire you to come in and speak?
Oh, yes. I'm available to speak. This spring, I'm trying to hold back a little bit because I want to get this book finished. But I am booking things for the fall, maybe a few for the spring, but if I don't have to travel too far.
Do you think high schools and grammar schools would be willing to bring you in? I mean, I would think it would be such a breakthrough thing if school systems could become open and that this book became available to teachers that were teaching history.
Right.
Because, you know, if you don't have the teachers backing, you have curriculum, so you keep passing the same information over and over again over time. And as we all know, you can say something